All right. So, hello and welcome to the 103rd Friday learning event. Critiquing a product, especially under interview pressure, can be tough. This is one of the most common questions you might get in UX interviews when you're handed a product and asked to identify its problems to fix. This task demands the skill of auditing. You need to know how to evaluate a product, prioritize its issues, and critique it. To do this, in today's session, we have our volunteers, Achyut Kalwa, Jasmine Shah, and Vishnu Pandey, showcasing how they've applied learnings from the product critique course to a sample problem. For those unfamiliar, this event serves as a follow up to our Udemy class. If you wish to dive deeper, that's where you'll find it. However, for now, we'll assume you've completed the course and are ready to understand its practical application. To our viewers joining us live on YouTube, feel free to engage by asking questions and commenting. I'd now like to invite Prasad to lead us through today's problem and approach.
Awesome. Thank you, Roshni. So, again, when you're interviewing, the most common type of question, as Roshni said, was, well, here's my product. Can you critique it? Can you tell me what's wrong with it? And the person who's asking you that question is trying to understand, can you actually work in an environment where there are multiple demands, right? You don't have the resources, you don't have the time, and you still have to execute. Okay. So what they're looking from you is the ability to find a problem, prioritize it, and then give a reasoning for why you've chosen what you've chosen. Okay. An extension of this is while you're working in the company itself, you might have, somebody would say, here's my product. Now we need to create a roadmap for how to improve it. So part of the strategy is you have to audit that product and still prioritize the issues. So these skills are very similar, though, however, for an interview level, process is smaller. Whereas if you were doing it as part of your day-to-day work, it's a little bit more involved. Okay, so Roshni, if you could share the presentation, I'm going to take you through the problem statements. So just so that we all understand what the problem statement is and we understand what is being asked. So imagine you go into this interview and you get this very simple, straightforward question, which is on slide number 2, which is, imagine you're the part of the Tourism Development Board of India and your goal is to make the experience of navigating across India extremely easy. Okay. As part of this, you're auditing websites of all road transport corporations in India. Okay. And your first website is the Rajasthan Road Transport Corporation. That is the challenge. Okay. And you're not being told anything else. Here's the website. Now critique it. Tell me what to do. Okay. So what I would like for you to do is, if you can just copy this link and share it in the chat, I want you guys to just look at it. Take a couple of minutes and look at it. Okay, or we can just demo it. So just go to the next tab, Roshni.
Okay.
Yeah. So as soon as you come in, you have a pop-up window. You close that. And you see this website. And you basically start using this product, or you have to evaluate this product. Okay. Now, the URL, if you want to look at it in your own computer, the URL is up there, and then Roshni will copy and paste it for you to look at it. Okay. But what my intention today is literally give you a simple, straightforward system where, you will apply the formula and you should be able to get an answer for it. Okay. And that's what Achyut, Vishnu, and Jasmine are going to do today. All right. Let's go back to the presentation again, please. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Now, again, for those of you that have taken the critique class, the audit class on Udemy, this should be, again, just a continuation of that. It's just simply an extension. But however, for those of you that are just watching it for the first time, here's the formula that you need to use. One, you need to clarify the context, which is, what is the product? Who are the users? What are the scenarios that are relevant to this use case, or that are relevant to this task? What are the root causes that are causing the problem? That you are identifying the problem and you're identifying the root cause. Then you're prioritizing and you're communicating. Okay? That is the format that has been taught to you in the class. Now, using this exact same thing, our volunteers are going to present, right? So with that, it's all yours, Jasmine, Achyut, and Vishnu. Go for it.
Yes.
And then again, one quick thing I want you to understand is we're going to do this for the first half. So you understand how we think about it and how we answer this question. And in the second half, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down the YouTube live because it's going to be super boring for them. And then you are going to do a small exercise on your own. Okay? Just if you're ready, do a thumbs up and then we can get going.
Ready, sir.
Thumbs up. Awesome. Go for it.
Yes.
To Jasmine and Vishnu.
Thank you, sir. So, Jasmine, can you share your screen?
One. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you go to the slideshow more? Okay. So, hello, everyone. So, it's been a great time doing this critique. So, I will just give an introduction as to what we have, how we have approached this, and then we have Jasmine and Vishnu who are going to take it forward. So, having said that, we'll move to the next slide. So as you all have seen before also, I'll just go through the problem statement again. So it's as simple as you're the Tourism Development Board of India, and your goal is to make the experience of navigating across India easy and seamless for foreign tourists. Now, as part of this, you're auditing websites for all road transport corporations in India. So for this task, what we have done is we have chosen the website that we would wanted to critique is Rajasthan Road Transportation, the link that you have received right now. So we'll go next. So here what we wanted to do first is understand what is the product's purpose. That is, Rajasthan Road Transport Corporation is providing bus transportation services in the state of Rajasthan. Now, if that is what it is providing, then who would be the user? And from the problem statement also, we are looking at foreign tourists traveling Rajasthan using RSRTC probably for the first time. So what would their goal be is to plan and travel between specific location. Also, we wanted to understand what is the business goal, which is to make the experience of navigating and booking easy and seamless. Next, what we have done is we have figured out a few use cases. So first use case is what the user would be doing is he would want to plan the journey and then book from point A to point B. That's a point-to-point travel. And the third one is probably buying a package or something if it exists. Or the fourth one is customizing an itinerary, which is coming up with a customized package. So like this, use cases can be many, but for the sake of this one, what we have done is we have prioritized two use cases which are non-negotiable. So the two are planning the journey and point-to-point travel. And within each, for the first use case, planning the journey, there are multiple actions
So
the user
one
takes.
question, let me just slow you down. They're
Yes.
like, why did you call these non-negotiable? Why not other use cases?
So, sir, when we are so for custom, for that answer, I will come bottom up, sir. If we look at customizing an itinerary, buying a package, all these, and even for, okay, not planning the journey, but customizing and buying a package, point-to-point travel, that is means, meaning being able to select from location to location to travel, that is the major part. So what we thought was if we kind of focus on that, ideally the other things somehow would be completed. And of course, whenever somebody wants to travel, planning is the first thing that would happen. Once the planning is done, immediately they would want to go for the booking. So that was our rationale behind prioritizing these two and calling them non-negotiables.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yes, sir.
just to clarify, what you've done is you've identified all the possible use cases. And again, you don't have time. In an interview, you may not even have the, you can't talk about everything. So what you're literally doing is prioritizing. Well, what is the bare minimum that the customer would need to do, the user would need to do for this product to be usable?
Yes.
And is it at least they should be able to go from point A to point B, because if they're able to do that, they will be able to do the other things.
Correct. Everything revolves around that, sir.
Got it. Okay, let's go.
So even in use case 1 and 2, there are quite a lot of actions that are possible a user takes. But even in that also, for the sake of time, we wanted to prioritize again based on what are non-negotiables. So in use case 1 for the planning journey, find popular places and events to explore culture. That is 1. And in use case 2, the first action that we wanted to consider was check bus schedules, fare, distance, and classes. Classes meaning different tiers of transport like AC, 2-tier, semi-deluxe, deluxe, etc., something like that. From Jaipur to Udaipur for ticket booking. So it can be any place to any place within Rajasthan. It's an intrastate travel. So these are the 2 use cases and actions that we have prioritized. So we'll move next. From here on, we will look at the demo of use case 1. From here, I would like Jasmine to take over. You could do a demo and then we'll move ahead.
Yeah. So we'll go to the website here. On this page, I see a pop-up. I close the pop-up. I see a lot of data over here. I'm trying to connect to my relevant data. Here I see some navigation, but it's not showing what I want to see. There is a toll-free number here and there's some anti-corruption thing over here. I can see some skip to main content. Maybe this is where I have to go, where I'll find my content, but I'm not able to see. Then I try to use the search and say popular destinations. And I come to this page and I'm not given any help as such to recover from this issue. I go back again. I try to see where I can find something for ticket booking relevant. And I see a button here. I click on this and I land on this page. So this is the use case 1. I'll go back to our findings. Yeah. So our action was that the user lands on the RSRTC homepage. Now, what were the issues that we found? I'll go one by one. So the first one was the content doesn't meet user expectation of seeing any travel related information. We boiled down it to heuristic violate that was matched between system and the real world. I'll first take you through all the issues that we came across. The second issue was skip to main content, which I clicked over here and it took me to an irrelevant bottom page information. The third issue that we found was cluttered layout with poor readability and confusing, which was confusing and slowing down the user. So that was an overall, something which was visible overall on the site. The next was when I was landing, when I searched and I land on this page, so no suggestions provided to recover from the page not found error. And the last one was lacks search suggestions during typing. So when I was typing over here, there was no suggestion, there was no, any kind of help that would have been given through search. And therefore, in the previous page, if we come back to the heuristics violated, the first one we understood it was match between system status and the real world, because obviously the user was thinking that he would get something relevant and he didn't find it. Skip to the main content, again the same thing. Cluttered layout was aesthetic and minimalistic design. Heuristic for page not found was help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. And lack search suggestion was flexibility and efficiency of user, because if this was in place, the user could have been efficient. Now, in the probability part and impact and severity score, the thing was that how probable is this kind of an error occurring? So it was highly probable, every time the user would come on this page and he wouldn't find the relevant content. So we gave it 3. Impact was again 3. Why? Because if the relevant content is not found, obviously the user would be confused and not complete his task. And therefore, we calculated this as 5. So 3 plus 3 minus 1 as what we were taught in the course, the severity score should be 5. And again here, skip into the main content, how probable is this error that will happen? So we gave it 2. Impact was 2, which is medium. So let me tell you, 1, 2, and 3 are the scores here. So 1 is low, 2 is medium, and 3 is the highest. So over here, the impact is medium, and therefore the severity score comes to 3. Cluttered layout is highly probable, so 3. Impact is also 3, and therefore the severity score is 5. If I come to the next page, no suggestions provided and page not found. Probably, we can say some users would, use this search button, search input, and how probable is it? So we gave it medium. Impact is medium. Why? Because, there is still a way for the user to go back and make his search. So the impact is medium and the severity score is 3. Lack search suggestions, probability is 2, impact is 1, and severity score is 2. So this was the use case 1 that we kind of diagnosed.
So let me just slow it down for 1 second.
Yes.
Okay. So what the team has done is they've done 2 separate things here. The first is they just did an evaluation. And if you notice how Jasmine did it, she looked everywhere. She thought about every possible way in which your user might use your product. Right? She didn't just say, I'm going to go to ticketing and end it. I might search, I might look on the top, I might look at the navigation, I will look at the anti-corruption. I'm going to figure it out. So she identified all possible pathways. That's one thing that she did. The other thing, if we go back to action 1, when you look at the heuristic evaluation, okay, it is very rare that you will only find one heuristic that has been violated. More often than not, there are always more than one heuristic that will always be violated. This is something nobody tells you. Okay, but this is the crux where if you understand what is the core issue, your recommendation will be very strong. Okay, so what you're doing here is you've identified a list of all the things that are violated in your opinion. There may be 10 heuristics. Out of those 10 heuristics you might identify all 7 of them. It's okay. Identify all the possible heuristics that you believe have been violated. Okay. Then the next step is the team has calculated the probability and impact. Okay. The probability is how likely is the user to get into this type of problem, and what is the impact if they get stuck in this problem. Okay. And using this, they come up with a score. Now, a score of 5 means it is critical. Okay. You have to solve it immediately. If something scores 1, it's not that important. Okay. And that's what this score does. And what it also does, the highest scores are the root causes. Okay. So if you identified 5 heuristics that are violated, but there are 2 of them that are at 5, those 2 are probably the root causes. You solve that, all the other problems will get solved. Okay. And when you're interviewing, the interviewer is trying to understand, do you have the ability to find the root cause, or are you just going to tell me 10 problems and leave it up to me? Okay. There's a difference in the way you communicate. And that is what they've done. They've identified all the heuristics, identified the root cause, and now they will communicate it. Go for it, Jasmine.
Yes. So here we come to the use case demo 2, and I invite Vishnu to take this up. So Vishnu, are you sharing your screen?
You can continue to share the screen. I will just walk it through. Right. So can you click on go to the website or the point where we left the chat, that we left the screen? Yeah. So once user lands here, they will find from stop to stop journey date and depot name. So can you click on from stop and search from Jaipur? Right. And yeah, can you select any one of that? Yeah. and to stop to Udaipur. Yes. Click on the journey date, right? So yeah, click on the date picker, that will work. Select the date of 9th on Saturday. Yeah, can you come to the depot name? Since I have no idea, let's just leave it for now. Yeah, direct service will work for me as a user. And please click on search. Okay. So the screen, so this is the one where I will decide for which bus shall I go and on what date and at what time. Right. So this is the end of the demo for now. Right. This is where our scope of the project ends. Can you take me back to the PPT, please? Yeah, the next slide. Awesome. So, so the first issue which we encountered was cluttered layout with poor readability and confusing and slowing down the user. So as you can see, the readability of the screen while the drop down was really less, right? And the heuristic which was validated was aesthetic and minimalist design. And probability is very high out of here, which is 3 by 3. And impact is also very high because it's a high chance that user will misclick or misread it. So the severity score is 5 out of 5, and it is very severe, right? And then unclear name terminology. Again, when I clicked on depot name, I was unable to know what that is. So there was no help and documentation from the side of system. The probability is low and the impact is low as well. So I would rate a severity score of 3. Logo and brand name. Brand in is the regional name, right? So as a foreign tourist, I don't have that good Hindi proficiency. So consistency and standard, right? And probability is 3, impact is 3, severity is very high, as it can put me in a lack of trust place as well. So when we interacted with the date picker, it was not working well, the input field, right? So that is a consistency and standard issue. The probability of user landing here is like pretty high, but the impact is low. They can click on the date picker icon and can get the work done. And then there is lack of proper CTA hierarchy, as there is a search button also and bus inquiry also. So the probability is high, but the impact is low because clicking on any of these will give me the same result. So the severity score is low. Yeah, to the next slide, please. So once we had all the information presented here, right, the problems we found out was the first issue is unstructured layout, no hierarchy, and poor readability, confusing and slowing down user in making a choice. Again, the heuristic validated here is aesthetic and minimal design. Again, as you can see, the tables are very much like hampering my readability. And the probability is again 3 because it's high likely I will encounter this. The impact is 2 and severity score is 4. It's a severe problem to solve. The unclear abbreviation in table header, right? As you can see that there is a department time, then there is another department time, right? So that's a consistency and standard issue. A high probability but a lesser impact. So severity score is 3 for that. Direct and connecting radio buttons do not filter search results. And that's a consistency and standard issue, as if you go through the search results, you will find both direct and connecting bus services. And that's a consistency and standard issue. The severity is still lower, right? Fare and availability not shown upfront. That's a visibility of system status, as there's a fare button, there is no specific charge. So the probability of encountering this problem is 3. The impact is 2. And severity score, I would rate a 4. No mention of arrival date and time. That's a match between system and real world violation. And the probability is 3, impact is 3, and it's a high severe issue. No mention to travel distance and time taken. Recognition then recall is the heuristic which is violated here.
So if
The
I could
probability is
just
3.
if I
Yes, sir.
could just stop here, right? I think the core thing that what Vishnu is trying to say now, has anybody been able to figure out why do these scores change? It's the same problem, the same symptom, but based on the heuristic, why do these scores change? Can anybody tell me? Yeah, go ahead, Gagan. You're on mute.
All right. I'm just assuming, like, as it says on the top, the impact of that in a situation, right? So there is a variability there, right? And probability again is one of those.
So based on the issue you identify, okay, the issue itself has a different impact. So for example, if you say unstructured layout or no hierarchy, okay, well, if the issue is that there is no hierarchy, okay, everybody sees it, obvious. But when you look at the impact, people will still be able to figure it out. You have three buttons right on top of each other, they'll still read and they figure out. So the people will still figure it out. So it's a score of 4 or a 3 in my mind, the final score. Okay, it's a either you put an impact of 1 or 2, so the final score will become a 4 or 3. Okay, and notice these scores are not written in stone. Okay, it is your judgment when you're doing this evaluation. Okay. Now, if you look at, let us say, the no mention of arrival date and time, well, that's actually a fairly critical issue, because if you are a tourist and you don't know when you're going to arrive at a certain location, you're probably not going to be willing to buy that ticket because you don't know when you're going to arrive. So in that case, it is a 3. It's a very severe issue. And so therefore, the severity score becomes a 5. Okay. So when you think about it, there are many problems you've identified, many heuristics that you believe have been violated. But when you only look at it from the perspective of that heuristic, the impact changes. Because if you change the order of that information, yeah, okay, but what's the impact if the order, if it is not ordered correctly, it's still low. So that's why your impact score changes and your probability score changes. Okay. And that is how you're able to find the root cause. If the probability is high and the impact is high, then that is probably the reason why all the other problems are happening. Okay. So go ahead, Vishnu. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah. So let's move to the next slide, please. So this is severity score overview. And based on both the flows, right, match between system and real world has a highest severity of 17, right? And aesthetic and minimalistic design has a 9. So if I have to solve two problems, right, two heuristics, that would be these two. Right. So over to the next slide, please. Yeah, Achyut, over to you.
So now remember the question that came in here. The question was, your interviewer asked you, well, you're part of this goal. Your goal is to improve it for foreign tourists. Now, how are you going to look at this and tell me what you'll fix? Okay. So now, based on the assignment, the work that you have done, it's literally a checklist. You have done those previous 4 or 5 steps. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the solution. Okay. So Muzakir, I'm going to call you right after Achyut completes his statement. Okay. Go ahead, Achyut.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Vishnu. So you have seen the process, all what happened, an overview of the severity scoring. So when you saw 17 and 9, those are the core issues that we thought if we solve it on priority, because there are so many issues that we figured out, and there are so many other issues that we left out for the sake of time constraints. But at a given point of time, only a few can be solved. Those are the constraints that every one would be having. So in the conclusion, what we wanted to do is once again bring back what is the problem statement. And then our solution here is that it's as simple as we believe that there are 2 things the website will need to solve to make the experience easy and seamless. That's what we wanted to try to do. So what are those 2 things that needs to be done is, first is help user plan his travel. And another thing is help user travel from one point to another. That's the point-and-point travel. These 2 things are very important to create a seamless experience for them. Now, to achieve these goals, we see primary issues to be resolved are, first thing, most users, foreign users, they don't understand the language and geography, right? So when they come to this website now, if you imagine yourself being a foreigner who doesn't know the language or anything, you would know what is the trouble. So therefore, when they visit the website would provide them relevant content and an intuitive navigation and a clear layout. If these three things are solved, that will help to achieve the user's goal and contributing to the entirety of providing a seamless and easy navigation through the website.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be the evil interviewer and I'm going to react to this. And I'm going to put you guys in a tough spot. Okay. I'm going to say, okay, relevant content, intuitive navigation, clear layout. Everybody will say the same thing only. What do you really want me to do?
Right.
Give me some specific actions that I can do to fix this immediately. So they've done a big mistake here. And again, part of learning is not learning how to do it correctly. Doing it wrong is also an important lesson in here. Okay, so how not to do it. So they did a huge mistake here. They did everything right till the second last slide, and then they left it at that, and they did a huge mistake at this point. So what did they do wrong? Anybody? Go ahead, Gagan.
They should if they should give some kind of an option, maybe saying that if this is a problem, then we have few solutions, even if they haven't thought through the list of probably the best solution, but suggest that imagine just a clear screen, minimalistic, clearly eyes focusing on a job that needs to get done.
Right. So they give specifics because when the interviewer is sitting there, they don't know what you're talking about. Like, make it relevant. It's like just looks like some general list of feedback. Give specific feedback because that is what is going to make them think about it. Go ahead, Shiva.
Yes, sir. I was about to say the same thing. I think we need to provide specific suggestions, recommendations. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So the simplest recommendation that you can probably give is above the fold, right up on top, provide, a to and from, right? If that is what your recommendation is, relevant content above the fold, just put a to and from. Okay.
Yeah.
Or you can basically say, well, here's the map. You can navigate using the map, possibly, right? Or relevant content might mean when you're searching, you want the arrival, the departure date, the arrival time, the departure and arrival time, the cost, all of that information right up there. This is what people expect, and this is what you need to put. So being specific in an interview is very critical. Okay, so what they could have done is just be more specific here. Okay, the moment you're specific and you give just 2 or 3 recommendations, okay, so on the search result page, give all of this information, layout, do this layout. On the home page, give this layout, and this is what we recommend. Okay, done. You won the game. So you did everything. The last 2 slides, you went off on target and you lost the interview. Okay, so this is where you need to be thinking about being specific and just putting your, what do you call, putting a judgment, provide a judgment. Because if you don't provide a judgment, the other guy is going to say you can't make a decision. At the end of the day, I want to hire people who can make decisions. Okay, go ahead, Achyut.
So just for me to understand that, so we are all this while we have been shouting about problems, but a designer being a problem solver, we didn't come up with a crisp solution like targeted. Is that
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's not even the problem, right? You're thinking about the interviewer. What is that person looking from you? Can you make a decision? Like, he
Right.
doesn't care what problem you identify, or she doesn't care what problem you identify. They're just looking at, can you look at this, identify the problem, make a decision, and make a stand?
And also
Okay.
communicate it, sir, properly, like
And communicate your reasoning. That's what it is. Simple. So go ahead, Gagan. Wait, let me ask Muzakir because Muzakir has been waiting very patiently. Go ahead, Muzakir. You have a point?
Yes, sir. My question was regarding uh, we are assuming a probability of that heuristic of that use case, and also we are considering an impact of that. What if we
Mhm.
go a little wrong on that, because that is on our assumption? And what if an interviewer is not seeing in that perspective?
That's fair. It's okay. You know, see, at the end of the day, that's what an audit is. You are using your knowledge to make a decision. Okay. So let's go back to one of the scores. Okay. Let's actually play out that use case. Okay. So go back to, yeah, the previous, this one. Okay. So let us say that no mention of arrival date and time is there. That's a score of 5. Okay. The interviewer can say, listen, arrival date and all that, I think the impact is not that severe because everybody knows why they're going. Okay. I mean, everybody knows if you are going to buy a ticket between Udaipur and Jaipur, everybody knows what the duration is. Okay. Now, this is creating an opportunity for you to have a discussion. Okay. Now, when you put that score, you're saying, well, actually, I would argue that if you're a tourist, you don't know. And therefore, it is a critical issue unless and until they do other research. But the moment they're leaving your website to do research somewhere else, chances are they'll purchase the ticket somewhere else. So you've lost the sale. And that's why I've graded it at a 3.
Mhm.
Okay. Now the interviewer might say, no, I don't think so. I would not say. Then it's okay. How severe do you think it is? Okay. What is the impact of it? They say, I think it's a medium impact. No problem. Even if you make it an impact, it's still a severity level 4. You still have to fix it. It's a critical issue. Right?
Yes, yes.
So the point being is when you're in an interview, it's not about being perfectly correct or whatever. It's about providing a rationale, your thought process. Okay. The interview is saying how you are listening to them, how you are reacting to them, what is your reasoning, and how are you arguing it. If it's a 1 or 2 score up and down, it doesn't make a difference. It's still critical.
Yes, okay. It's more about the reasons we have to give it a particular score.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And again, if it's a 4, that's okay. It's a 4 is a 4. They might actually score like, okay, well, they might say, let me see, something else might be fare and availability not shown up front. So they might say, well, that is actually a larger issue. Okay. And then again, you can always argue there. And again, I haven't seen this. I'm just assuming. You can argue there, well, if people are adequately motivated, they would click on it. They would be frustrated and they might actually go somewhere else. But there's also a chance they will click on the link and they will see what the pricing is. Okay. That is why I've graded it a 4. But, in my mind, it could be a 5 as well. So it could be a 4 or a 5. It could be both. Okay. And ultimately, the way you would argue it is, at the end of the day, my belief is that both of these problems, the information that is critical to the user to make the decision, which is fare, availability, arrival date, the duration, all of these things are critical. They're all non-negotiable. So in my mind, all of these have to be solved together. Okay.
Yes,
So what you are doing is by putting that score, you're learning how to argue it. That is the point. Because when you put a 3 or a 4, in your own mind, you have to argue it. And once you argue it, when you sit in an interview, it's very easy to discuss this.
yes, sir.
All right, cool.
Yes.
So Gagan and Bhaskar, you have comments? You want to go first, Gagan?
Okay. No, I was just thinking, you think getting the interviewer inclusive in the conversation at each step of the process, would that, essentially the question that Mazakir was asking, would that resolve it? Because, you're bringing them into the conversation and saying, fair enough, and let's go forward.
See, the point being is, there's 2 things you're doing. One, an interviewer can ask you a question that is unstructured and that you're unprepared for. Okay. 2, the interviewer is asking a question within your structure for a question you're prepared for. Right? See, the point is in an interview, you have no control over whether the person is going to ask you a question or not. They will ask you a question regardless. Right? Your strategy is to structure the framework around that question in such a way that you can have a discussion around it. Okay, that is the only thing you can control in this game. Okay, so what you have done using this framework is you've said, okay, my framework is this. This is how I've analyzed it. So based on this structure, so at the most, what are the kinds of questions you'll get? Well, it should be a 3 or a 2. They will not say it should be some other heuristic. You understand what I'm saying? So you've already limited the number of choices that they have when they're asking that question. So the probability of you correctly answering that question is much higher.
My question was, in the lines of, should you just take the whole thing and bring it till the end and then open it out for discussion, or would it be a good idea to bring them, or did you answer that and I didn't get it?
No, I didn't answer that. So, but that's a good question. So there are two possibilities. Okay. One, they give you a take home where you are kind of analyzing it and you're thinking it through. Two, they do a whiteboarding exercise for you. Okay. Now, when you're doing a whiteboarding exercise, you may not have the time to do all of this. Okay. And the point is when you do this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, this becomes habitual to you. So the moment you think about it, once you get habituated to thinking this way, any problem that comes, it's literally like the Terminator. The guy is, looking at a problem and he's got multiple choices coming up on their screen and they're saying, okay, A, B, C, that's what it's subconscious, right? That's what is going to happen. You practice this enough. All of these scoring, all of this is going to be subconscious. You know how this is going to happen. Okay. Then that is why this is where your framework of answering comes into play. The way you frame this is where you say, listen, when I look at this, I believe, for a foreign tourist, these are the problems. Okay. All the slides, literally you explain the slides in a 30-second monologue in some ways. These are the users. These are the core goals. And therefore, this is what the person is thinking through. And these are the core use cases I need to evaluate. For this specific use case, I believe that this is the core issue at hand. Okay. Because the probability that somebody will see it is this much, the impact of that problem is this much, and therefore it is an extremely severe problem. And that is what I recommend. So the moment you've stated that answer, they have to go within your own framework. If they go outside of the framework, chances are they will not go outside the framework because they're reacting to what you're saying. Okay. Does that answer your question, Gagan?
Yeah. So what I've understood is you're also defining a way to, in a way like, let's stick to the topic and let's not deviate.
Exactly. You are subconsciously setting those expectations in your interview. So the interview doesn't go anywhere. It's within your ambit.
Right. Thank you.
Good. Go ahead, Shiva.
Sir, my question is sometimes multiple heuristics overlap, but do we need to pick only one, or can we talk about all the heuristics it violated?
Again, you don't need to. So for now, what Achyut and the team have done is they've just literally put all the heuristics. You don't need to talk about all of those heuristics. Okay. You just talk about, in my opinion, these are the two most severe issues. That's all you talk about.
Okay.
Okay. The rest of the stuff is literally like, the rough work versus the fair work, right? So
Yeah.
what the team is showing is all the rough work they did to give you the final answer.
Yeah, so also
Okay.
that I'm saying, like, even in one case, if you take a second example, unclear abbreviations in table and header, along with consistency and shadow, some other heuristics also will violate, right? In that case, I'm
Yeah.
telling, like, suppose
Yeah,
let's.
absolutely. There may be something else that may violate, but again, at the end of the day, the chances that you're going to get level 5s are limited. So only the root cause will end up in a level 5.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. It is possible that there may be 2 issues that may be level 5, but again, that's still, a good learning to say there are 2 issues that are critical, you still need to solve it. Or there's 1 issue that you need to resolve.
Got it.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Vishnu.
Yeah, sir, my question was that in whiteboarding sessions, once we are done, you pointed out that major blunder is we ideally don't give recommendations. We leave at the problem space. So how much time shall we dedicate that we are giving certain recommendation, but not getting in the zone of proper ideation?
See, all you're saying is number one, you're not ideating. You're just saying the number one issue is people don't know how to find the search experience, right? How to
Yeah,
find the booking experience. So you want to make it very, very obvious. Okay. And the core issue for that is you're not using industry standards. If you look at any of these other organizations, the industry standard is the booking widgets are available right in front.
okay,
So that is what you need to do immediately.
okay.
Okay. So that's what you're communicating.
Yeah, that answers my question.
Yeah. Cool. Go ahead, Bhaskar.
Yeah. So I mean, listening through whole critique and also I felt one point which, if added, would actually add more value to this last slide is something that why did only taken Rajasthan's tourism rather than, because we are saying it's a Indian tourism organization is looking at it. So that component, if we could reflect that, okay, Rajasthan is generating more kind of revenue or from tourism. So that point, if added, and foreigners are the uh, more people or user groups who are being contributed to that thing. So that's where I think the last slide would eventually correlate to, like, since foreigners are more prominent in these experiences. So that's where this is very important problem to solve kind of thing.
Hmm. See, but that's already part of the problem statement. So it is assumed that that is what your interviewer told you. Okay. However, the one point which you said was say that it is for foreigners. I think, yes, absolutely. Stating that upfront and saying, listen, the audience is foreign. Okay. They do not know anything about the geography. They may not know about travel times. They may not know about all that is an important statement. You want to state that upfront. So yeah, I would actually go with that point, go on that point with Bhaskar.
Yeah, sir.
Thank
So
you, Bhaskar.
yeah, this is right. But we have this in our problem statement. Only we didn't copy it over here. So this is an
But again, that's the point is like if you state that, that is where it makes everything that you did, you showed to people was rough work. The last slide was the fair work, isn't it?
right, sir.
And in the fair work, if you didn't have it, you don't get credit for it.
And then there is one more like
Yeah.
point where after we do this task, there are two
Go
possibilities.
ahead, Achyut.
Sir, I'll speak after Bhaskar, sir. I
Yeah.
can.
Okay, go ahead, Bhaskar.
Yeah. So there are two pointers how we could present this also. Like, first stage is we submit this task, the interviewer would analyze and then ask us for a presentation. So that's where I think it's more critical to this story be more solution oriented, and solution should be there actually in the last slide. And moving past that, then only we could get a chance to actually communicate our thoughts if we move to the next stage. So I think that last slide, just adding to your point, that it needs to be more communicating that this has to be done somewhere.
Right. And one other thing, I'm glad you talked about this. If you were to share this with an interviewer, you would never share. If you go back to the previous slide, one more, yeah. You will never share heuristic violated. You will never share that column. You'll just say issue, probability, impact, severity. That's it. You won't talk about heuristic violated because that is something that only you as a designer will know. Right? The interviewer does not need to know. Okay. But this is for you, is how you practice this skill. So take any product, practice it, you will understand this. It becomes a second nature for you after that. Go ahead, Achyut.
So, sir, my question is with regards to what Bhaskar has said primarily, which is quite interesting for me. So is it like either you or Bhaskar can answer this? So there in the last slide, we did a mistake of not adding that foreign tourist visiting. Or let us assume that Rajasthan road transportation is not something that they have given. They told us to pick it up. So in that context, like what Bhaskar said, like which of the states contribute maximum to tourism capital of India? Is it in terms of the impact that we are creating by solving a problem, sir? Is it on that part, what Bhaskar has said?
Bhaskar, you want to take this?
Can you repeat that question, Achal?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
I'll take it. I'll take it in the interest of time. So I think what Bhaskar was approaching was said, if this is for India, okay, you need to now decide, well, which state tourism corporations will I spend my energy?
Right.
Okay. A simple way that you would look at is, where do most of the foreign tourists go? Okay, it's a Delhi, Agra, Rajasthan circuit is probably the most popular one. Okay, so the thing that you're looking at is all the road transport corporations within Delhi, which is Uttar Pradesh, and Rajasthan. In your mind, that is how you prioritize, because you said majority of the tourism goes there, and so I'm going to evaluate these three guys and I'm going to come up with a recommendation.
Right.
Right. So that's what I believe Bhaskar is trying to say, is this is how you prioritize if it's a pan-India problem.
Right. Got it, sir. Yeah.
Is that right, Bhaskar?
Yes.
Cool.
So if you prioritize that one, the kind of problem that we solve will also be bringing more revenue or something like that.
Correct. Now, here's the interesting problem that comes here. Okay. Now, the question that we say is, listen, the road transport corporations are political entities.
Correct.
Okay. Which is why they have to give this. They're government entities, they give like millions of dollars worth of contracts out.
Right.
So how would you balance that issue? Right? That may be a question that will come, because if you just say make everything like Red Bus or whatever, make it very commercial, then they say, well, there are government legal issues that we need to still solve. You need to put in the anti-corruption information. You need to put all this information. How will that work when we are a government entity and you're giving all these recommendations?
Yes.
Right. So that is another question. The savvy, the savvy interviewee would actually think about. Okay. Because that's a competing intention. Okay. So the argument can be made. And again, it's all about the argument, whether you can, whether it makes sense or not. It's an interview, it's a hypothetical. Until you get into the job, you will never know what the real complexity is. Okay. So the argument can be made is, listen, that is true. However, if somebody is looking for tenders and such like that, they are very motivated. So if you just put it in the footer or some other place, they will still find it.
Correct.
Okay. However, when you're purchasing a ticket, it is a very short span of time when people are going to give you to kind of, they're going to give you the very small attention span to see whether you can help them purchase a ticket or not.
Right.
So you're losing those customers. That is why you're investing there. But the people who are looking for tenders or stuff like that will automatically find it anyways.
Yes.
But again, those are all discussions and thought process. You need to basically play it in your mind and get to the next step.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you so much, sir.
Awesome. So I think we are pretty much out of time. We may not be able to do, or will not be able to do exercise between ourselves. But what I would say is, Achyut, Jasmine, and where is the third partner? Vishnu, right? What they're going to do is, I think they've done a phenomenal job. Okay. And I want to really thank them for it. And again, part of the volunteering is when you do this, you kind of learn, you practice, and they've also practiced how to speak and defend in an environment, which is not probably ideal, right? So this is something I want to congratulate you. Good job done, guys. They will do a little bit more cleanup on this. They'll figure out the correct answer structure. And then what will happen is it will be shared with all the people that are attending here. So you can see how to answer it and think through it. Okay. Or maybe a better way is if you want it, just send a message out to Roshni, and then she'll make sure you have the final deck available for yourself. Okay. And what I would advise all of you is take a website. Okay. Just a random, take 10, 20, 30 websites, doesn't matter. And if you want to do study groups, this is the best opportunity. And the way I suggest is people who are turning on their cameras would be most likely to want to sit together and study and practice. Okay. Go form a buddy group and say, okay, let's analyze this. Let's quickly come up with this and then practice it to the point that when you're given a problem, you will be able to come up with solutions within 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. And if you do that, you get really, really good at this type of interview question. And invariably, this is one of the most popular interview questions that comes through, no matter what. Okay, cool. So any other questions or anything else, Roshni, before we end the call?
We also wanted to talk about the Udemy program for people that are not familiar for our YouTube audience.
Yeah. So, and if you're not familiar with the way this analysis has happened and all that, all of this is in the Udemy course, right? So, and it's available. And for you members, if you're interested, just send a message out to Roshni and she will hook you up with some coupon codes as well. But, what you want to do is just go in there, right? All of this content is broken down step by step by step. Once you know how to do this, then practice it. It's all about practicing. And once you practice it and you get really good at it, you should be able to answer these type of questions or even do work. And this is also something that Bhaskar is doing at work. What he's doing is all the different products that he's working on. He simply does an audit, shares that audit report, and then they're prioritizing literally what he's going to be spending his time working on. Okay. Same technique works both at an interview as well as at work. All right. So, and Roshni has sent out the link. So thank you very much, guys. Anything else, Roshni?
There's something that the YouTube audience can do if they want to access these coupon codes as well. So for the product that we discussed today, if you can spot out another issue and talk about that on LinkedIn, tag us and email us. We'll be able to share the coupon codes with you as well. And you'll be able to access this code, which will be at least 50% off for the current course. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend and talk to you next week. And see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.